If you fall down at Marquette, you might not know who is going to pick you up, but what you will know is someone will pick you up. And I think that's what's special about the university, is that everyone is paying attention.
Welcome to Marquette Cares, the podcast that highlights all the ways Marquette is the difference, lights the fire in our students, our community, and our world. Welcome to Season 2 of Marquette Cares. We're very excited to have a very special guest on for Season 2, the president of Marquette University. Dr. Kimo Ah Yun was unanimously elected the 25th president of Marquette University by the Marquette Board of Trustees in November 2024. He had served in the dual acting president and provost roles since June 2024. He joined Marquette in 2016 as dean of the Dietrich College of Communication, was named acting provost in 2018, and then permanent provost and executive vice president for academic affairs in 2019. Prior to coming to Marquette, he served in multiple leadership roles at Cal State Sacramento for 2 decades. President Kimo actively participates in the life of Milwaukee by serving on the Greater Milwaukee Committee Board of Directors, Seton Catholic Schools Board of Directors, Children Wisconsin's Board of Directors, the Water Council's Board of Directors, and the Scaling Wellness in Milwaukee Board of Directors. He is also engaged in the American Cancer Society's CEO Against Cancer Wisconsin chapter, Northwestern Mutual Data Science Institute, and Near Westside Partners. President Kimo was born in Compton, California, and moved with his family to Sacramento as a child. He and his wife, Catherine, are the parents of 3 adult children, Benjamin, Molly, and Haven. President Kimo, thank you so much for coming on Marquette Cares. We know you're a busy guy. We know you have a lot going on, so we're so happy to have you on.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoy talking about Marquette. I love the university. I love what it's able to do. I love its place in Milwaukee, and I love being one of its many representatives to move it forward.
You really are one of the representatives who helped move the university forward. So Zabrian and I'm joined by the Assistant Dean of Students today, Zabrian Oglesby, who
let me be here.
normally
Anytime.
sort of sits in the background and is the sort of co-producer with me, Kelly Albrecht, who's the host. But we thought today, because it was such a special day for Season 2, that they should also be on. So we're just so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. And truly, since Kelly and I have started the podcast, one of the big things was capturing how does care take place on our campus through multiple shapes, forms, actions, behaviors. And we want to pose that question to you. When you think about the idea of a caring campus or a caring university, what does that mean to you as our president?
Yeah, first I'd begin with, when people ask me my favorite Bible verse, it comes from John. And it's love one another as I've loved you. And so when I think about care, I think about love. How are we creating the conditions that everyone feels loved and also feel a responsibility to love one another? So as we think about the university, it's top to bottom. I mean, obviously, I begin with the students. It's about making sure they have the support, that they stay at Marquette, that they graduate, that they're formed, that whatever they need to help them along their journey, that we provide that for them. Mm-hmm. But I think that's only part of it. I think that's the most important part, because that's our mission and our calling. But, we're a large university that has many staff and faculty as well. So it goes beyond the students. And our faculty and staff help to care for our students. But as a university, we have to ask us, how are we making sure that we care for them as well? And when we care for them, is thinking about services that we provide, benefits that we provide, compensation that we provide. How do we make sure that they feel loved too?
Yeah, that concept of love, I think, is far-reaching. It's something that we all have a different connection to. It expands cultures, time, space, and being able to really create that unique experience for others is something special.
Yeah, and I think from a Catholic Jesuit perspective, we often talk about cur personalis, right? Yeah. And I think that the formation and the foundation of the care for the whole person, we think about that on a daily basis. And so Marquette has a market advantage over many other universities when they're trying to caring community, because that's part of what the Jesuit says we're supposed to already do. And if you don't have that background or you're not steeped in it, then you have to ask, well, how do we go and do that? We don't have to ask that question.
Right. So one of the things we try to do on this podcast is show people who may not know Marquette very well, families who might not know Marquette, or thinking about Marquette, how we're different and why we're different, because we all are a part of it. We know, we see it every day. So For families who may be new to Marquette or are coming in or thinking about it, how would you describe the different layers of care or support that we have at Marquette, however that looks like to you?
Yeah. Well, first is I think at a larger level, what I talk about is that one of the things that differentiates Marquette's from other universities is that, many universities you go and you find a job and you get prepared for that and that's success. What I say is at Marquette, that's a small piece of it. What we truly want to do is to transform the lives of the students. And we want them to be men and women for and with others. And so we have to model what it means to care for others if we expect our students someday to graduate and have that same care. So I think about the different kind of layers or levels. The first is the connections with their peers, with one another, living in the residence hall, making sure that people are paying attention of how they are doing, asking them questions, but again, going back and ensuring that they're learning, that they have a responsibility as well. And so, some of our rankings, they talk about our students are some of the most friendliest students. We're top 25 in the friendliest students in the country. And I think that friendliness comes with this level of care and understanding and being able to recruit students who have that same ethos. And so we talk about that a lot in the recruitment process. So if we think about that as emotionally, then we also think about academically. We obviously emphasize all of our faculty and staff that they are retention officers. And we want to make sure not only do you show up to Marquette, but you graduate in a timely manner and you have a great experience. And so every professor, right, every staff member is charged with asking the question, am I paying attention to the students who are at Marquette? And if I see them miss a class or I see them just not perform quite as well, to ask them what's going on, what can I do to be able to make that better? And then lastly, I would say is we talk about the physical, spiritual, emotional. Our wellness and rec center was purposely designed. It was an investment in our students. And in the first year, we had almost 500,000 swipes of students going through that, showing that when you care for others, you take away the stigma of getting help, because we would say is there's different things you need to be well, to be cared for, and all of that, whether or not you want to work out or go see a counselor or get a medical checkup, you all do that in one building because that's all part of this holistic way of viewing people.
As the student case manager for the university, I see a lot, I get a lot of those referrals when students aren't going to class or there's something wrong, there's something off. And I tell parents all the time when they're worried about their students, look, it is really hard for a student to fall through the cracks at Marquette University. It's almost impossible because somebody is going to notice, whether it is a faculty member or a staff member or their RA or their roommate. Somebody will notice. I promise you that. It rarely happens that a student just sort of falls off the radar and we don't know that they're struggling.
Yeah, one of the things I saw recently, it was a student who was being interviewed and a tour guide, and they said, one of the things happen is if you fall down at Marquette, you might not know who is going to pick you up, but what you will know is someone will pick you up. And I think that's what's special about the university is that everyone is paying attention.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really important. And I think of you talked about well-being or wellness earlier. I think for students, some of the stewards or folks on the periphery and sometimes at the forefront, just depends on the day, are definitely the families and caregivers behind each of our golden eagles. What role do you see our families and caregivers playing as stewards of support for our students at Marquette?
Yeah, that's incredible, right? These are the people you figure as when you come to college, typically you're about 18 years old, right? These are people who have been with you from 18 years old and know you best. They've seen you at your highest. They've seen you at your lowest. They've helped you to navigate experiences. And so they become that rock, that stable force that existed long before Marquette University, but more importantly, will be there long after Marquette University. I also think about our commuter students. So they're going to be at home often, right, when they leave the university. So that's that that just grounding that they have that they're going to spend so many hours with. So to the degree possible, I tell parents, work with Marquette. We have some opportunities to be able to provide wraparound support, but they provide extra additional opportunities, especially with their unique knowledge of their child or their relative about how they engage the world.
Right. Like I think about our office for the Office of Student Development and the Division of Belonging and Student Affairs about the amount of parent interaction that we have. It's not uncommon that we get those phone calls up. This is something you may not know. So that may be a handoff to Kelly as our case manager,
Right.
or a call to a faculty member to say, hey, this actually crosses the threshold where we do need your support here, need your involvement. And especially there's not one type of student at Marquette. I appreciate you talking about commuters because we have a variety and a diversity of student types for sure.
Yeah. And for all of those diversity types, there's a different care package, and there's a different success package, and there's a different need package for each of them.
Right.
And so there's just not one template that fits everything. I think about commuter students, but first generation college students as well.
Yeah.
They need a different sort of attention. And I'm a first generation college student. So, oftentimes first generation students are operating from a deficit of knowledge about how to navigate a complex university. And because of that, you do not know that there are resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you do know they exist, where to find them, but then it might feel bad about going out and using them. That's very different than non-first generation college students. So we have to tailor it to the unique needs. We pay attention to the demographics of each of our incoming classes so that we can then understand where we need to put additional resources. We are still developing and putting the class together that will start in the fall semester, the fall of 2026. But there are two things that we think will hold, and I don't see a reason why it wouldn't hold. But right now, the class is 36% diverse, which is a record at Marquette University. It's 26% first generation, which is another record for Marquette University. Cristo Rey, one of the high schools, the Catholic Jesuit high schools in town, a third of their students will be coming to Marquette, and many of them are first generation. So now we know that we have to do a little bit different work than we've done before because of just the makeup of this class is different than the makeup of last year's and the years before, and different than what next year's class will be.
That is extremely exciting news. Xavier and I are both also first-generation college students.
There we go.
So we feel very passionately about first-gen college students as well. And I know selfishly for our office, the way we the way we approach, as you were describing, the way we approach students and their needs, we do tailor that care package differently for every student. But again, this is sort of a selfish question based on our office.
Yeah, well, I would say is just kind of adding on to that.
Yeah.
When you think about care, in our strategic plan, there are 3 pillars. The third pillar is care for the world. And part of that care for the world is how are we providing hope? And we do that in part through our first generation college students. And we go back to 1881. Even before then, Bishop Henney had a dream to have a university that provided hope, that provided care, that provided a strong Catholic university to be able to make sure Milwaukee was strong. And so being able to provide those opportunities to first gen students in particular changed the trajectory of their life. They can't do much more to care for a person than to change who they are, what their DNA is, what they value, how they live those values, and how they are able to live out who they're called to become by God. And when they do that, things are limitless without what they can achieve.
I think, the reason I think both of us do what we do is because education has changed our lives.
100%.
Yes.
And we give back in that, education is rewarding in some ways and other ways not so rewarding, but education has changed my life. And I strive to see other students succeed in education because of that, because it does change your life. Like, no matter what people say, it's life-changing.
Well, and the data is really clear that children who have parents who went to college are substantially more likely to go to college. In my family, it was me and 4 sisters. I was the only one who went to college. I have 3 kids. Like for them, They never even, like, we never had to have the conversation, like, will you or won't you go to college? They grew up with it because both me and my wife went to college. We both worked at a university. So, like, they are now 2 of the 3-year college graduates, and the third one just finished her first year at Marquette University. So, it changes in different ways. Does it not only changes you, but it changes the lineage of the future generations that will come after you.
Mm-hmm. I think that's so. I'm in a similar situation, so I
Yeah.
can relate to that very much. My kids don't even like question it. They're like, "Yeah, college. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, get it."
And
like,
Marquette, not just college, but Marquette.
Right. I'm trying.
Okay.
I'm trying. So back to, those incoming students that we're having, big freshman class this year. So we're both excited and nervous in our office because that means
In the best of ways.
in the best of ways, a lot of challenges for us. But for people who don't know how we handle situations or students struggling in conflict at Marquette, describe a little bit how Marquette approaches students navigating mental health challenges, conflicts, personal struggles, because that is a big question parents have. Like, I'm dropping my baby off. Like, do you got them? Do you not got them? Like, what does that look like?
Obviously, I think first it starts in the residence halls because about 95% of our students live on campus for 2 years. And so it's ensuring that our residence hall directors and our RAs have the tools that they need to be able to begin equipping students. And so I say first and foremost, it starts there. And you think about how they're going to divide their time. They'll spend more time in the residence halls than they will in the classroom. So it's a great formative time to be able to experience it and to be able to kind of show them that care. But again, I go back to it's about attention, right? Love is about being attentive. Now, when we get beyond that, because sometimes things are a little bit more than what can be handled and needs a higher level of care or a different type of care or professional care. In the wellness center, we have great counseling center. We've got great counselors who our students can go and see and be able to kind of navigate what they're doing. I go back to provide them the tools so that they can live a lifelong happiness and be well because they're figuring out how to navigate it. And then beyond Marquette, if we experience something that we think needs a very even higher level of care, then we provide that opportunity as well.
There's so many ways we care for students. Like, it really is hard to describe all the, like, it's like, I can't give you one answer because I don't know. It's different for every student.
Well, and I think care is also, we live in this world of kind of loneliness and disconnectedness and social media and expectations. Being able, even one way to care is just to provide experiences and activities on campus to get people to put their phone away, to engage with other human beings, to live in a world in which they're navigating it. And so I think about even those smaller things just help to provide that experience that students are craving.
It makes a lot of sense. And branching really nicely off of that too, like I got to see you just light up and talking about the experience of that. And like, what does it mean to bring that forward? What are you excited about with the future of the Marquette student experience? What comes to mind for you?
Well, continuing to stay grounded in who we are, Catholic Jesuit University. But as we move forward, we know the world is evolving. So we need to figure out how Marquette moves along with the world that is changing. There are some exciting new spaces that I would like to see come to life. We know in the coming years, we need to build a new residence hall. So how do we bring that to life? That new residence hall will just provide some other opportunities and maybe help to centralize more closely to the core of campus where students live so that it can make access a little bit easier. I'm excited about when we think about the university and we think about where is probably the largest clustering of academic areas, it's probably in the health area. We have a dental school, a physician assistant school, a highly rated nursing program, a tremendous physical therapy program, a speech path program, an occupational therapy program. I don't know if I said dentistry, but a dental school as well. These are all people who come to Marquette and they're asking the question, how can I advance in the health discipline? And for us, it's a way for caring. So we then know to think about those spaces. 3D, virtual reality, labs that are updated. The second kind of area that I've really started to talk about is how do we flatten the student's experience of the spaces they're learning in. Meaning that if you're a nursing student, you've got a tremendous space. If you're a business student, you have a tremendous space. If you're engineering, you have a tremendous space. But not necessarily all of our students in the sciences. And so that will be another area that I've really focused on to say, what would be a multi-year plan to update those spaces in a way that's responsible, and a way that we can find a funding opportunity that doesn't put it on the backs of students. And so that excites me too, that says that's something like wellness and rec, that we've created that incredible space. How do we replicate that in other areas of campus on the academic side?
That makes a lot of sense to me too, because it is about like the equity in that experience is what I start to pull forward, and the access. Like, how do we really make that something that students don't have to ask us for, and it's already built in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier. We're both parents of college students.
Yes.
Hopefully, Marquette student. I'm trying.
Yeah.
But as we talk about, I talk to parents a lot. You probably talk to parents a lot. What advice would you give to parents of college students, either current college students or incoming freshman parents or families? What is the little nugget of advice that you would have for parents and families?
Yeah. Well, for parents, it is help the students to understand that the number one predictor of their success on a college campus would be their connection. Make sure they get tethered to the university. And there's not a one way, right? To be tethered to the university is simply finding your people somewhere. And so for some people, that might be the gospel choir. For other people, that might be a program in engineering. For other people, it might be the real estate program. For other people, it might be the theater program. What is that thing that is your go-to core, that you have a group of people who will really be paying attention and taking care of you? So there's nothing like more important than that. And then I think the next thing that I would tell them, once they get tethered and they find their people, because if a student simply goes to classes and goes back to their dorm, they're less likely to stick than someone who in between finds something else. When they do that, it makes them well-rounded. And so the second piece that I say is take advantage of opportunities. Marquette has the opportunity for anyone who wants to invest the time. They're going to find people who are going to take them to places they've never imagined. I was just this week with the mentor program, and Dan Jaffe, an incredible alum, provided a transformational gift that's going to allow us to expand that mentorship program. But you only get to be part of the mentorship program if you seek it out. It doesn't come to you. So students who are aware of all these things going on, that they get to be part of it. But now if you get a mentor or multiple mentors, because you're there for multiple years, you have someone who wants to make sure you graduate, that you get a job, that you get promoted in that job, that when you're ready to have a family, that you have support about, helping them to care for that family. These are lifelong relationships, but it starts with the student taking the initiative.
I think that being connected to something on campus, like that is the key to one, like feeling like you belong here, feeling like Marquette is your home. Like I always try when a student comes to me and they're struggling or they feel like they're unhappy or they feel like, oh, no, this is not for me. I always ask, what are you involved in? What do you belong to? And 9 times out of 10, it's nothing. I don't have anything. Then we're gonna find that thing for you.
Well, if you go to OFest, right? OFest, what happens at the beginning of the year, and where nearly 300 groups are out there recruiting people, surely you will find something. And I tell incoming students to find 3 things. Find something that they've always wanted to do but didn't have the opportunity because it didn't exist at their high school, for example. Number 2, find something that they're passionate about, something that they like doing now. Like if you're in a dance, join one of the dance group. If you sing, join one of the singing groups. And the third thing is to find something completely outside of your comfort zone. Find something that when you look at it, you're like, I think that would be a bit awkward or that would make me feel uncomfortable. Do that, because then you can help get beyond that awkwardness and allow you to step into any situation to be successful.
It's really important. I think a lot, like, especially with our division, like rooted so deeply in student development theory, like Aston's theory of involvement informs a lot of what we do, of having that tether and that tie. And I think about that a lot as something that can be scary for first-year students. at times. I'm going to roll for 2 with advice. Is there any specific advice, knowing that we are in August, our students are coming back onto campus in many ways, like life is returning to campus in unique ways. Do you have any specific advice for first-year students?
Yeah, I mean, that are incoming?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say is just enjoy your experience where you are. Like, live in the moment right now and enjoy, don't get beyond finishing high school and leaving. Just be in the moment and enjoy where you are and be open. Like, prepare yourself to be open to new experiences. And I think that if they come in with that, a clean slate, ready to grow and learn, that's going to position them for success.
Yeah, that sense of openness. Don't close the doors ahead of you. Make sure you actually see them for what they are. They're doors. Go through them.
Yeah, don't give yourself the no. That's what I say. Well, as we wrap up today, I've really been looking forward to this question because this is something I ask all my guests who are on, which is, what is your we are moment? And this actually was inspired by you. I don't know if you know this, but as you know, one of our sayings at Marquette is, we are
Marquette.
And I sort of got this idea because this is something you do at big events, convocation, graduation. You sort of step away from the mic and you say it 3 times. We are, and then everybody says Marquette back. And it's a really, really powerful moment. And it always super moves me. Convocation is probably one of my favorite times of the year. For those of you who don't know, convocation is when we welcome in all of our new freshmen by college and we all come together as one big group. It's just really, really, I know, it's a really welcoming, moving event, I think, when we're all together as one. Well, not all, just the freshmen and all of us as staff. But it's just a really powerful moment, I think. And so because of that, that's why I named it this We Are moment. So it's this moment when you feel the Marquette spirit. You feel that community. You feel either the care or you felt like you gave care or something really. I don't want to say Marquette because that sounds terrible.
I like Marquette.
Okay. But that's where I got this idea, was from those moments that I have been in those situations and felt that sort of spirit. So, President Kimo, what is your We Are moment?
I'm going to go with a recent one. So just last week, we had alumni awards. We brought in so many people have graduated, 40, 50, 60 or fewer years ago. And at National Alumni Awards, we gave away 4 awards. And each of the awardees talk about what Marquette gave them and then how they used that to make the world better. Tim, the first awardee, said Marquette gave him career personality and what that means. And now he goes to Africa and donates his time. Christina talked about providing the blueprint for her life. It gave her her moral compass. Now she fights for legal rights, especially religious freedoms. Ambassador John Ricolta talked about how Marquette taught him how to take care of his community. He comes from the Detroit area. He now gives back to education in the Detroit area, especially with first-generation students. And then Bob and Kim Eck talked about how Marquette taught them how to be curious. And because of their curiosity, they become tremendous supporters of initiatives at Marquette and beyond to make the world a better place. So my We Are is seeing these 4 incredible groups of people who are honored, but understanding this is 4 of the tens of thousands of people who are doing that work. These are the ones we just happened to hear from that night.
That's a pretty good one. I'm gonna. No notes on that one. No notes. That'll do it. That's probably the best one I've heard. So,
and we did do the We Are Marquette 3 times at the end.
Of course you did.
Yes,
of course you did. That tracks. That's a good way to wrap things up. So, thank you so much for coming on. We can't thank you enough. Again, we know how busy you are. We know that coming out here and doing this was a lot. You are an amazing representative of our university. You are taking us in exciting directions. We're so excited to see where Marquette goes. Thank you for all the care you give to our students. We're excited to tell your story about being on here. So when I told you, we like to tell stories about people who care, the care that you show for Marquette and our students is clearly evident. So thank you so much for continuing to inspire everybody every day. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for all you do to care for our students. We cannot do it without the, 2,000 plus faculty and staff who are getting up every day and asking, what can we do to make the student experience better? Appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You're welcome. So be sure to join us next month when my guest is Jasmine Scott, 2026 Marquette graduate. Jasmine will be talking about her journey at Marquette and the role she played as a student in providing care for others. In the meantime, be sure to like and subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can also follow us on Instagram at MarquetteOSD. Thank you for listening once again, and remember, Marquette cares.